Programming is a two-step process. First, we need to decide how we're going to solve the problem or how we're going to model a system, and then we have the task of implementing that as code on the particular digital device that we're working with. The first stage, though, is often where the really interesting work takes place, of coming up with an efficient and effective way to solve a problem, to model a system. We call that in computing the algorithm. It's also the term which we use in mathematics education for how you solve a particular problem, for how you multiply two two-digit numbers together, for instance. But it's an idea that we use elsewhere in the curriculum too. So breaking a problem down into a sequence of instructions is something which you'll do all of the time over in design and technology for teaching cookery. We call that a recipe. There is also something which you and your pupils will be familiar with from the English curriculum about instructional writing. There are many, many places where you use that routinely as part of the school day. So let's think about algorithms away from the world of computing. Let's think about them over in the domain of cookery. What's the algorithm for making pizza? Well, one very simple algorithm could be phone your local pizza restaurant. A slightly more complicated version would be to take the idea of how to make a pizza and break it down into a small sequence of steps here. Start by making the base, then make the sauce, add the cheese, add any other toppings, and finally, of course, put that into the oven to cook. And we'd want our pupils to make predictions about what will happen if you follow that sequence of instructions. It's also worth recognizing, though, that this represents an abstraction of the actual process of making pizza, that these boxes here themselves contain many more steps. So, for instance, making the base, that can be broken down into much more detail about mixing ingredients together, about kneading the dough, about getting the dough to the right size. Similarly, making the sauce comprises a number of other separate steps. Abstraction is a really powerful part of computational thinking that allows us to manage the detail of complex systems and complex processes. And it's worth you and worth your pupils looking for occasions when abstraction captures something of how we're thinking about systems and how we're thinking about processes.